What's going on, ladies and gents? I'm Victor Ortiz, the WBC welterweight champion of the world. I'm gonna do it again. Don't forget that. But man, I'm just trying to give a shout out to all the podcast listeners by Flipside Sports podcast. So man, just a big hug, and I hope you guys are awesome. God bless you.
We talking about practice, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice, practice, man. I mean, how silly is that?
Just a bit outside.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Flip Side Podcast. We are back with the Cover 3 edition, Week 17. I'm joined, as always, by Tyler Hayward, host of the Trouble with the Snap podcast. This is Week 17. If this is your first time joining us, do not fret. We are going to continue this through the playoffs, although it won't be a Cover 3. Probably Cover 2 seems logical, but Cover 3 is not mathematically possible every week. So with that being said, we are 58-38 on a season, good for 60%. That's pretty successful. Week 17 always offers up some challenges, whether it's questions of the motivation of teams, if they're sitting starters, if they have anything to play for, if they're playing for draft picks. But with the added playoff team, it looks like a lot of teams still have a lot to play for. So without further ado, welcome Tyler Hayward. How is the Big Ten landscape looking, which is your area of expertise?
It's looking a lot different than a lot of people thought. Northwestern up at the top, Michigan State at the bottom. I think that's something that a lot of people didn't see coming. But tomorrow we're going to have, former Final Four contender and Michigan State Spartan Anthony Ianni on. He's going to tell us why Michigan State appears to be sleepwalking through the Big Ten. And, give us a little more insight on, why Michigan State's playing like they got hit with a can of Twisted Tea.
Yeah, topical. The Big Ten basketball full swing. If you are a bettor or just interested in college basketball, the Big Ten in particular, Michigan State, that is the show for you. So make sure you tune in. Without further ado, why don't you kick us off with your first pick for Week 17?
Well, you were talking about teams that have a lot to play for, and obviously that's the route I'm dancing along this week. And Indianapolis is one of those teams, and I'm taking Indianapolis minus 14.5 against Jacksonville. I know division opponents are usually hard to beat by that amount, but the only good part about Jacksonville, no disrespect to Chino and DJ Chark, but they don't have anyone who can get them the ball at an efficient rate. James Robinson is questionable. And against Indianapolis' defense, they're so well coached still. I think the Colts are still missing, that superstar receiver and great quarterback. Not that Philip Rivers at one point during his career was not great, but he isn't anymore. He's an average quarterback, but it's enough to get it done with the way the Colts play defense. And, right now they're on the outside looking in. And so I'm deciding to go with Indianapolis.
Yeah, and watching Indianapolis, I've seen them several times this year. They look like a playoff team. They pass the eye test in every way, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The addition of DeForest Buckner was huge.
Oh yeah,
you mentioned not having a superstar receiver, and we thought that the T.Y. Hilton was just done, but he has absolutely exploded in the last couple of weeks.
right.
And I think Michael Pittman's going to turn out to be pretty good. Jonathan Taylor, they're better than Jacksonville especially if James Robinson's out. They're probably better at every single position.
And the way Jonathan Taylor's been playing lately, they might be better with or without James. James Robinson.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't hate it. It's a big number, and I'd feel a lot better about it if the Jets didn't shoot themselves in the foot for the first pick. But yeah, the Colts are winning. You're in, and if they get in, they're a threat because defense travels. So yeah, Jacksonville's probably going to come out nothing to lose, nothing to gain. They're just going to go out and play ball, which could be dangerous. I don't know, but the Colts are fighting for their livelihood, so I don't hate that. With my first pick, I am going now. I know that J.J. Watt got everybody all riled up and ready to run through a wall, but he's only one man, and he is literally the only man on that defense. And on the offensive side of the ball, the Houston Texans have one man, and he's a good one, Deshaun Watson. But I am taking the Tennessee Titans minus 7.5 at Houston. Titans, again, just like the Colts, a whole lot to play for. The Texans, not so much. I mean, they got a rah-rah out of their rah-rah guy, but this team, I mean, I know that we get the blessing of watching the Detroit Lions defense every week, and it leaves a lot to be desired. But if you look at the numbers, this Houston defense is really, really bad. And after giving up, they have no semblance of a run game. They gave up DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson, as my mom would say, bless his heart, because he's trying so hard out there. But he is the epitome of a quarterback can't do it all. The guy's got a passer rating of 109. I couldn't tell you who caught a single one of those passes since Will Fuller's been gone. And yeah, they got J.J. Watt, who, for everything he is motivationally and as a leader and a big name, he's not as productive as he once was. Derrick Henry, tis the season that nobody, especially a team with nothing to gain, wants anything to do with tackling Derrick Henry. The Titans defense is bad too, but their weapons, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, Tannehill's playing at an elite level still. And then, of course, Derrick Henry, who's a monster. I think Tennessee covers this one pretty easy.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. You said Houston's got bad defense, but where is it particularly bad is stopping the run. And you just said Derrick Henry's name. And they didn't get to use Derrick Henry a lot last week because they were playing with that negative game script against Green Bay, just getting throttled in the second half. In a team like that, who's well coached, who is fighting for their playoff lives, I think that that's a situation where, again, you got to consider the will of these guys to want to get into the playoffs, and you factor in Houston's crappy run defense with Tennessee's running back with King Henry. It's not looking good for Houston, and yeah, I like it too. I think Watson can put up points against this defense, but if Henry gets rolling early, you're not stopping that train.
Yeah, and I really don't know. I mean, I think they had Kenny Stills at one point. I don't know what they have for options.
I mean, David Johnson's been one of their better receivers over the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's not good. That is not good. I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised this number is not a little bigger than it is. But 7.5 is the key number, and it's a tough one to cover in the NFL.
It kind of threw me off too. I was expecting like 9.5 or so.
Yeah, but why don't you go ahead with your next one?
All right, my next one, I'm taking Chicago plus 5.5 against Green Bay. I know Chicago's played a lot of lousy defenses over the last couple weeks, but they're scoring over 30 a game. And they've scored over 30 in every game, rather. And look, since Mitchell Trubisky has regained that starting position, I know that they did lose to Green Bay. And that's who they're playing this week. I think they have a little more to play for than Green Bay. Green Bay's playing for a bye, but they're probably going into this game a little cocky. It's a situation where that Aaron Rodgers effect is going to take place. I think Chicago over the last few weeks has figured out a better run-pass balance with David Montgomery, and who's just been absolutely playing lights out over the past month as well. And again, could go to lousy defenses. Green Bay, not a great rush defense. Again, and I think that this is a game that Chicago needs to win. I don't know if they do, but I think they can cover that 5.5.
Yeah, and this one might be played in the elements, which for this game,
it's fitting.
That doesn't really matter. I mean, it sways me a little bit towards Green Bay just because I watched Aaron Rodgers absolutely shred a team in the blizzard last week. But
Chicago's got a little bit better of a defense than Tennessee.
Yes,
it's not what it was, 2 years ago when everyone thought, "Oh my God, this is Monsters of the Midway again." But it's still a better defense than what Tennessee has to offer.
Yeah, and I don't think the Packers are going to take it easy by any means. I think their defense is suspect. I think Khalil Mack's coming on strong though. And speaking of motivation, playoffs aside, Maserati Mitch is trying to play for a picked up contract extension, and I think he deserves it. I mean, we've seen. I think there's no secret. I don't think David Montgomery just got good or just got bad at one point of football. I think it coincides with the added run threat in the backfield. And
that's something that we've talked about all season long. I think I might have brought it up when Foles did come in. I think that it was a terrible move. Montgomery is not, fleet of foot, so to speak, but at the same time, he has the ability to do damage if the game plan is right. The game plan is not right with the standard drop back quarterback unless you have the best offensive line in the league or one of the top 5 offensive lines in the league, and the Bears don't have that. And so that threat of Trubisky opens up, let's say a linebacker's just staring down Trubisky or whatever, and you need to watch for that run. You got to spy him. That may open up that one crease between the guard and the tackle for Montgomery.
Yeah, and I'm expecting the fear I have for the Bears is that as effective as Montgomery's been, I worry about them getting too far behind for him to be a threat. But
yeah,
I am as big an Allen Robinson fan as there is, especially when Mitch is in. He loves him, and he's been a friend of mine for fantasy reasons for a long time, and it's because Mitch absolutely looks for him. And
he was loving Jimmy Graham last week too, and so I think that that's someone else to keep an eye on because he's starting to look like he's 6 years younger.
Yeah, they could really use Tariq Cohen right about now, though.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he would make that offense so much better. It's not even funny.
Yeah,
the threat as a slot receiver or a 2-back backfield with him and Montgomery. It would be exciting to see. Given the progress that the Bears have made over the last month, like I said, it's all crappy defenses, but I think that there's something there. You just need the right guy making the right decisions.
Yep, and they're not gonna. We see what this is, as I've predicted. Aaron Rodgers might just run away with this award, but
yeah,
you stopping Aaron Rodgers, game planning for Aaron Rodgers is not going to help you. You need to stop Aaron Jones,
right? Yeah,
because
you're stopping Adams or Rodgers, period.
Right, and if the Packers can get a lead and Aaron Jones is effective, this game's over.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're pretty much on the same side of that one. You're a little more confident in Chicago than I am, even though I'm about as big a Mitch fan as there is. My second pick, this one caught me a little off guard, and I had to read the headlines. I am taking the Los Angeles Chargers minus 3.5 at Arrowhead and the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs. But this line caught me off guard, and then I thought, oh, it's week 17. Something must be going on. I'm thinking that Mahomes is sitting. Well, Andy Reid made it sound like everybody's sitting.
Yeah.
And he said some key players. And when it's been key players in the past for him, it's
Kelsey,
Mahomes, it's Tyreek Hill, it's Travis Kelce, it's
Chris Jones.
Chris Jones, it's Frank Clark, and it's the Honey Badger. And so now we're looking at Chad Henne, who, God, I love him, but hasn't started a game since 2014. And I think, as I've thought all year, do not ignore the Chargers record because they're a lot better than they look. Herbert's the real deal. This is a talented team. I think this is a talented team that's going to be a playoff contender in about a year because, a
coaching change.
The health of Derwin James and Eckler all year and all that, and one more year with Herbert. But I think this line. I mean, they say that you move the line 4 or 5 points for someone like Mahomes, but I don't think Vegas has a clue on this game because. What do you move the line for a guy having the greatest season a tight ends ever had and a great receiving season and one of the best pass rushers in the league, 2 of them, and then your safety that is the quarterback of your defense in the back not playing? I think the Chargers are better than that. I think Keenan Allen is going to go nuts, and I think the Chargers are going to walk away with this one pretty easy considering the Chiefs already have the 1 seed locked up. And although I do think it'd be wise for the Chiefs to play their big guys because they don't look right, and they don't look like they're in playoff form. So, I'm going Chargers.
Yeah, this Chiefs team also, they have that. It feels like Golden State when they picked up Kevin Durant type deal. You just signed everybody to their big deals that's going to lock them up for life, and you did it before the salary cap increased. It's a situation that. I think they're just dogging it until it's winning time. And I think that, last week it almost cost them. They were a Pro Bowl kicker chip shot away from, going to OT with the Falcons. And, they got fortunate that Koo missed it. But I think that, everything you said is right. The Chargers have been a buttload of close games, lost a lot of it because of coaching decisions. I think that the Chiefs do need to play them for, at least the first or second quarter, because here's the deal. You're going to get your bye next week as well. So if something does get tweaked, you just pray that there's no severe injuries with your big guys. If something does get tweaked, you do have a week off to recover before you get ready to go against, a really, really tough 7 seed. Doesn't really matter who ends up getting that spot in the AFC. It's going to be tough. You do end up playing a tough 7 seed, so you already get the rest anyways, or a tough.
It could be a 3, or a 4.
Yeah. It could be a 4, but 7 seed is again the best case scenario, mathematically speaking. And, that game's going to be tough. So it's only going to get tougher as you progress up the standings. And I think that, everything you said was right. Like I said, the Chiefs have lost a lot of close games. And so I expect this game to be close anyway, especially the Chargers have lost a lot of close games. But I expect this one to be close anyway, the way the Chiefs have been playing. I still have the shirt that I made in 2005 while I was sitting outside of Spartan Stadium that I wore into the Michigan State game that said Henny rhymes with douchebag. I still think he's a douchebag.
It doesn't rhyme with douchebag.
I was a freshman. I learned a lot since then. But I think that it's a situation where, everything just kind of tips towards Chargers' way. I think you're right. Vegas has no idea what to do with this. I wouldn't have been surprised to see the Chargers by 7. Just because, if you move the line 4 or 5 for Mahomes, then you had Clark and Jones and, Hill and Kelce and, even a guy like Le'Veon Bell's going to get those, diva minutes off, even though he's not technically one of the stars on the team. Eric Fisher might be involved in that as well. And so I think that, I think the Chiefs absolutely have it, or the Chargers absolutely have a chance to win this game.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, and a lot of the Chargers have looked pretty good recently, and I think I think a lot of it, much like the Bears with their added run threat, a lot of the games that they lost were games they should have won and would have had Austin Eckler not been injured.
Yeah.
And I just think the sky's the limit for this team. Preseason, I love Justin Herbert for Rookie of the Year. And barring a miracle by a certain wide receiver from the Vikings, I think he's going to win it.
Yep.
And I think that, everybody said, oh, it's going to take Herbert some time. The Chargers aren't there. The Chargers are there. They've had bad injury luck, but they're loaded at every position.
They've had bad injury luck and they've had bad coaching. You improve the coaching. Justin Herbert gets his second year, a full offseason as a starter, barring a rib injury where he needs to get, poked in the ribs by the Chargers physician. Barring that in the coaching, in an upgrade in the coaching, a healthy Derwin James who changes that entire defense, and Austin Eckler throughout the course of an entire season. Yeah, man, the Chargers are legit.
Yeah. And they're playing. I mean, it's not helpful that they're playing in a pretty good division. I mean, speaking of injuries, I mean, the Raiders are what they are. They're up and down, but you got the Chiefs that are going to be there for the next decade, and then you've got the Broncos who somehow piece a great pass rush together every single week.
Without Von Miller,
correct, and with just trading all of their secondary pieces week in and week out. And then playing receivers at quarterback, and the Broncos aren't as far away as people think, but I think the Chargers could be a real threat to the Chiefs dynasty. I don't think they're gonna overtake them for multiple years, but I could see something like when the Rex Ryan Jets snuck a couple in on the Patriots, and they brought that defense and caused problems for the Patriots in their heyday. I think we could see that out of the Chargers in the coming years.
Yeah, absolutely. They're a young team. They're a talented team. Like I said, they've been losing games so close too.
And they have a better quarterback.
I'm sorry?
And they have a better quarterback.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, this is going to be something where I think the Chargers are going to be a legitimate contender as well. Give them a couple years, build a little bit more around Herbert. You know exactly what you need. A couple years they're going to be. I mean, they're not going to beat the Chiefs like you said, but they'll be there. They'll be there.
All right. Why don't you go ahead and give us your final regular season lock of the week?
My lock of the week, I am taking Baltimore plus 12.5 against Cincinnati. I know that minus 12.5. Sorry,
it's actually minus 11 now. So.
Oh, yeah, and I'm definitely taking that. Yeah, I think that. Look, Cincinnati's played a little bit better than expected. But they played a little bit better than expected without Joe Burrow, but they're still without Joe Burrow. Baltimore is another one of those teams fighting for their playoff lives. And they've had the best offense over the past month of the season, putting up the most points per game. Lamar Jackson's been as efficient as he's been all season, closing this one out. And again, look, I know I kind of strayed with the Chicago Bears thing, but it's another well-coached team fighting for their playoff lives. And, so that's who you got to trust. The Bengals don't really care. They're going to end up getting help for Joe Burrow, whether it be defensively or offensively. I think he has a few weapons still. I think the Bengals still have a few weapons that are going to play this game that are very capable talents, but they're not better than Baltimore.
No.
Maybe if you strip down the receivers, that might be the only spot where Cincinnati might be better. But again, I think the receiver issue with Baltimore is a lack of usage. I still don't think they're being utilized properly. I think they could be. I think Marquise Brown should be a star in the league by now. I'm disappointed that he's not. But, if you're going to score 37 points a game running the ball, then You can score 37 points a game running the ball, and that's what you're going to do. And that's what Baltimore's done over the last month.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think any receiver can be a star in this offense, considering half your design pass plays turn into a 15-yard run by the quarterback.
Right.
But yeah, this Cincinnati, I've liked what I've seen. I've liked what I've seen out of Brandon Allen, honestly. But
yeah, he's impressed me. He's impressed.
Yeah.
You get these backup quarterbacks coming in, and they look like they've never seen a football before. And I get how difficult it is to play in the NFL. Because I never played past 8th grade, but I get how difficult it is to play in the NFL. And how difficult it is to play quarterback in the NFL. And you see all these college quarterbacks. Oh, this guy's got all the tools. He's a lock. He's just as good as Peyton Manning. Who are we going to take type deal? And you see what happens. And so when you have a guy like Brandon Allen, who's a relative unknown, wasn't a superstar in college by any stretch of the imagination, just take off the way that he has, it's impressive. It's impressive enough to compete with Baltimore, though.
No, and Baltimore. I think Baltimore is the one team that maybe everybody in the AFC outside of Baltimore would love to see lose and miss out on the playoffs, because I know Lamar Jackson's playoff history is not great, but there's a lot of teams that could get in that you want to see more than you want to see a John Harbaugh coach Baltimore Ravens team.
Yeah, and people need to remember too, if Baltimore does come in, they could come in, as a 7th seed, so they can get that first upset. They're that good, and then you do end up going against Kansas City, who A, has issues with the run. B, we never saw that game last year. Everyone thought that was a lock for the AFC Championship, and we never saw it.
Yeah, and everybody Baltimore's kind of got a chip on their shoulder. Like they've kind of been counted out. Lamar Jackson's kind of been counted out this year. And everybody talked about, Pittsburgh, and look at Cleveland. And sure enough, Pittsburgh starts dropping games and Cleveland drops some games. And here comes Baltimore. And they're bringing a run game. They're bringing a good coach, and they're bringing some absolute monsters on defense. And a team that's used to playing in the cold, you're not gonna get an upper hand as far as weather or climate goes, unless it's Buffalo, because that place is cold. Speaking of teams you don't want to play. But yeah, there's the AFC is so stacked, because any way it shakes out, it's going to be Miami, Indianapolis, Baltimore, or whatever for those wild cards. And those are 3 teams that I think can absolutely play with anybody.
Yeah.
So
I do not want to see any of those defenses either. That's the thing. I think Tennessee's probably the one team in the AFC outside the Chiefs whose defense isn't, just drop dead gorgeous, that's competing for the playoff spots. And obviously, both teams have the type of an offense that can make up for that to an extent. But defense wins games, and we saw it last year. I know the Niners' offense sucked, but the Chiefs got the defensive stops when they needed to. After those first 24 points, they shut down Deshaun Watson, and so I think that it's about the defense playing right at the right times, and that's pretty much what you're getting top to bottom in the AFC, with the exception, like I said, of Tennessee and potentially, depending on what team shows up, because I think Kansas City still has stretches on defense where it's like, okay, they're just a couple pieces away.
Yeah, when Chris Jones and Frank Clark are doing their thing, they're scary.
Yeah, and obviously you mentioned Tyrann Mathieu, who can play up at the line and then make an interception 30 yards downfield.
Yeah. There's really only one bad defense in the AFC in the playoff picture, and that's Tennessee. Yep. Because you don't want Buffalo, you don't want Miami.
Buffalo hasn't been that great this year either, but they're stepping up at the right time as well.
Yeah, their secondary is really good.
Yeah.
They just can't get a pass rush, and if they somehow figure that out, they're lights out. Because you better hope that Josh Allen laterals about 4 times.
Yeah.
But all right, I am going for my final lock of the 2020 regular season. Didn't want it to come to this, but I am taking the Dallas Cowboys -3 at New York Giants. Look, I don't care what quarterback is playing for the New York Giants. I do not see them stopping this offense. Andy Dalton looks like he's finally playing what we expected a good backup to play like, and then some. And it looks like Zeke Elliott's not on the injury report this week. There's too many weapons in Dallas. I don't see how the Giants can possibly stop them. This game means everything to both of these teams. Andy Dalton is fighting for a contract, just like Mitch Trubisky. Dallas defense has looked better recently. I mean, the last time we saw them, it was the Eagles, but the Eagles haven't been terrible, and Dallas shut them down. And CeeDee Lamb's been good. Amari Cooper's been good. Dalton is doing all the right things, and I think the Giants might know that maybe Daniel Jones isn't the answer, because this team's been better with Colt McCoy. But I don't see even a bad Dallas defense. I don't see having a problem stopping this team, because the Giants don't know how to score, because they haven't done it enough to know where their bread and butter is. And outside, I'm not being a homer. He's having a heck of a year. Outside of Jabril Peppers in that secondary, they got nothing, and they certainly don't have anything for Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. And if Zeke's a full go, that's icing on the cake. But Tony Pollard's been good too.
Yeah.
The Giants are just overmatched, and I think they're in over their head, and I don't think they belong in a playoff play-in game.
Yeah, and that's kind of the situation too with me is, you look at Dallas and they do have a ton of weapons. I think there's a little bit of a difference when you compare Trubisky to Dalton, because Dalton might be fighting for his career. Trubisky will sign on somewhere,
right?
Regardless of what happens for either of those guys. But Dalton, he's fighting for his career. He's a much older guy. He's, again, a backup quarterback. I know a lot of backup quarterbacks are those older fringe starters, so to speak, but he knows what he's capable of. And you mentioned CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's the third receiver on that Dallas team, and
Gallup's been good.
He's been putting up number one receiver numbers. And I think that this is I agree with it. I think the reason why the Giants are a little bit better with McCoy is just because you have to have a big arm in this league. I don't know if Jones has that. And, Jones has all the other tools. He can be a short, efficient passer. I can't really do much else, though.
He can run.
Well, okay, he can't really do much in regards to passing besides that.
All right.
And so you're very limited in what you get out of him. McCoy does have a bigger arm. I think that I think you're pretty accurate with how this plays out. But it's just a game where it's crazy. Everyone dogs the NFC East all year, and now these teams are just they all look like they can potentially be okay. And it's just an unbelievable flip of the switch. I think the one exception is Washington, who doesn't have their starting quarterback, doesn't have any quarterback really right now, with Dwayne Haskins acting like a dick. But
Dwayne Haskins acting like Dwayne Haskins.
I said what I said.
Yeah, and samesies.
Yeah, same thing. Tomato. And I think that I just don't think that – I think the NFC's East is going to be underappreciated just based upon how bad the season started for that entire division. That being said, I do like Dallas in this game. It was just one of those situations, the Giants are playing better as well, and so I didn't really want to take a gamble. Dalton, as good as he's been lately, and as good as I said at the beginning of the year it is to have a backup like that. And look, I obviously wasn't hoping for what happened to Dak Prescott to happen, but I was hoping we get an opportunity to see Dalton play like this. At the same time, he does have a tendency to have a bad game that he should not have here and there. And, if he has that type of a game against a pretty decent Giants defense, then the tables can get turned rather quickly, and so that's the only reason I avoided it. That being said, I still think Dallas wins. I still think Dallas covers, but it was just something where, look, I didn't want to trust the Red Rifle.
Hey, the thing when I looked at this game, I saw it. I was like, "Oh, that's in New York," and it's like weather and that, this and that, and I thought Dalton's played in big games.
In Ohio.
Dalton has played, in Ohio. He's played at Pittsburgh in meaningful games, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Baltimore. And New York's not going to bring him anything he can't handle. I mean, he's a redhead. He's built for this. But the
is it bad? That's why I didn't pick him.
The thing that made me really lean Dallas here is the fact that like I said, the weapons for Dallas are immense, and if Dallas gets out to a lead, there's nothing they can do. And the Giants aren't going to jump on them. Giants aren't going to jump out to a lead and control the clock with their running game. It's not effective enough. The Cowboys can get out to a lead with those weapons and feed Zeke and feed Tony Pollard and just bury this game with boredom. The NFC East is playing a lot better, but it looks like the winner of this division, whether it's Washington, New York, or Dallas, gets a fun date with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the first round. So that'll be interesting. But the Eagles the only ones out. The winner of this one is sitting in the. I mean, this is a win and you're in technically, but they got to wait till Sunday night because if Washington beats Philly, it doesn't matter. Washington's in. But a part of me wouldn't put it past the Eagles to lay down in that game. I know that they'd love to ruin Washington's season, but I think they just as much love to ruin Dallas or New York's season. And
I think that from a cross division standpoint, like an intra-division standpoint, I don't think there's anything more intense than the NFC East.
No, they just all want to suck the least.
Yeah. Oh, but they also want to beat the crap out of each other more than any other division. I know the NFC North's got a few more tighter rivalries, but a lot of that has to do with the Detroit Lions, who there's just an obvious difference between everybody.
Yeah, the AFC North has some good ones too.
Yeah.
You got time for one more?
One more.
Your neck of the woods. I'm sure that you're just thrilled with all this New Year's Day football talk. We see the Alabama Crimson Tide open as a 20-point favorite against the number 4 ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm taking Alabama all day. I think, Notre Dame has had the best offensive line in the country over the past couple of years. They got a solid run game. I think Ian Book is very underrated as far as a mobile quarterback, and he may be able to pop one off, but just collectively, I think Alabama's better. You saw what happened when Notre Dame faced a healthy Clemson team, who's the number 2 seed. Clemson took them to town.
Yeah.
And look, it's Clemson and Alabama in that first tier. It's Ohio State and Notre Dame in that second tier. And then it's been a bunch of garbage this year in college football. No other teams have really gotten established. Texas A&M, they're all right. They got curb stomped by Alabama in the first game of the year, I believe it was. So, look, it's like those 4 teams are the best teams in college football. I wouldn't have liked to see Notre Dame because Notre Dame beat a Clemson team with their missing quarterback. They're missing quarterback on defense. Missing
and rush the field.
Yeah, as the number 4 seed, which just makes it all the more embarrassing. And I just don't think. Okay, maybe the committee maybe it's not the best 4 teams in college football. I think Notre Dame nationally maybe underrated in regards to how people are disrespecting them. At the same time, I feel like they should have been a 6 or 7.
I think Cincinnati would beat them.
Yes.
I'm all over Cincinnati on New Year's as +7 underdogs against
Yeah.
Georgia. I'm all over it.
Yeah, I think it would be a good one, and that just makes me as a Michigan State fan all the more saltier with how the Luke Fickell thing was handled.
Yeah, I'm just happy. Like as a Michigan fan, I didn't think I'd ever see the day where the Ohio State coach of the last 4 teams is the most likable of the 4 remaining. Because Dabo, Brian Kelly, and Saban just they grossed me out. And the only thing that could have made it worse would have been Jimbo Fisher sneaking in there. So I mean, if people, I mean, I'm as against college sports corruption as there is, and that coaches should be above the table. But if you look at 1 through 6, like they're all shady and they're all at the top for a reason. And
I think Cincinnati might be out of the woods on that. I think that's a combination of who you're playing and where you're from. Cincinnati doesn't play the greatest schedule in the world, so when you go undefeated, and you beat the crap out of teams, you've got to take notice, and it's easier to get more talented players when, look, you are out recruiting Michigan State. And I'm not saying that as a fanboy, as thinking it's like this monstrous accomplishment, but historically speaking, Michigan State's a top 20 program in college football. You look at the Big Ten championships, and you look at the national championships. They are a top 20 team. Historically speaking, they're not as bad as people think. And when Luke Fickell can come into a mid-major and out-recruit you, which again just makes me all the more saltier how the Board of Trustees handled the potential Luke Fickell hiring instead of Mel Tucker.
Yeah, I think the biggest damning thing that I saw yesterday is Mel Tucker's team, much like not to get too far off sport topic, but much like as a Pistons fan, when you see them hire a coach and the team that they left got better, like we saw with Nick Nurse going to the Raptors and us getting Dwayne Casey, the Colorado Buffaloes are better now than they were with Mel Tucker.
And I mean that's evidenced by the fact that they have the coach of the year in the Pac-12.
Yeah. They got destroyed by Texas last week. But yeah, and obviously we got the other massive game between the number 1 and I don't know. Dwayne Haskins might have just dropped Justin Fields' stock.
Oh, absolutely.
But you've got 2 guys out to prove that they are worthy of the number 1 pick in the 7.5-point favorite Clemson Tigers over the Ohio State Buckeyes. Not as a homer. I do hate Ohio State, but Clemson's better than them.
Mm-hmm.
And at the beginning of the season, if you said that they were going to play, I would think it'd be a close game. But what I've seen out of the Ohio State defense and Justin Fields making mistakes at really, really bad times that Trevor Lawrence just doesn't make, I think Clemson's definitely a better football team.
Yeah, and I mean, look, like I said, I think the one situation where Clemson actually plays anybody good is Notre Dame, but at the same time, Notre Dame's a little overrated. And so, but even then, Trevor Lawrence played almost flawless when he played against the Fighting Irish. Justin Fields, not flawless against, underrated Northwestern team. So I think that I still think that Trevor Lawrence is just that much better. I think Clemson's that much better, and I'm going with the based upon what he said the other day, with how much he's dogged Ohio State, and he's put them at number 11 in his coaches poll. Look, I'm going with the governor of Michigan, Dabo Swinney, and the Clemson Tigers to they're going to beat Ohio State by at least 17.
Yeah, that's possible. I think, I've always thought that Clemson behind Trevor Lawrence can beat anybody, but I'll tell you what, I don't think I've seen a Bama team this good.
Yeah.
In a while. How does their superstar possible Heisman receiver get injured for the season at the beginning of the year, and they turn around and get another receiver, the player of the year?
Okay, go downstairs.
Like, how do you just reload a Biletnikoff finalist? Like,
yeah.
That's with money. That's how.
Yep.
But Yeah. So that is our Week 17 Cover 3 show. Again, we appreciate the support. We appreciate the love. 2020 has sucked for so many reasons, but this podcast has definitely been a silver lining. We will be back for the playoffs and where the games and the spreads are going to get a little tighter, and but we won't have to worry about who has to play for what.
Right.
So I'll probably drop that down to a cover 2, which I think means that we have to pick every game. But yeah, so look for that next coming weeks. Appreciate the support, appreciate the follows, appreciate whatever you've done to help us grow. We appreciate it. And that's it for us. Thanks for a successful regular season. And let's go undefeated in the Super Bowl, huh?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Have a good one.